Hi guys, we're here at Mobility Field Day, kind of debriefing some of the sessions we had this week. Actually, it was the first time both Roy and I were delegates, which was pretty cool.
At the same time, yep. And so now we're here in Santa Clara doing the recordings.
Exactly. So in this little video, we're going to talk about Juniper Mist. They were the first company that presented at the event. So we're gonna give you like a little overview of what they presented about. If you want to see the entire recording of their, I think, 3-hour presentations, you can go to the Tech Field Day YouTube channel and search for the Mobility Field Day playlist.
All right, so Juniper Mist, right? It's been a great acquisition for Juniper as everything gets mystified. Their net revenue, these were the statistics that they presented on their slides of net revenue of 1.168 billion. So revenue's grown for Mist 135%, and even switching increased 70%. So that's just to show that the adoption for Mist is really growing. There's demands for it. And so they keep announcing new stuff every Mobility Field Day. And so they did announce new products, new features.
Yeah, and they talked about 3 innovations. The first time, let me see. The first one was a switch, actually, which was interesting for Mobility Field Day. Yeah. But they announced the EX4100 series, which is a new switch that sits in between the 2300 and the 4400, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, it's either close to. It's not quite a distribution switch, more of an access switch, but the difference is that this is considered as cloud native.
It's cloud native, so it's designed to be configured, via the cloud, via the Mist dashboard. You have a QR code on it, so you can just onboard it, using the Mist application, and it
has more telemetry.
Yeah,
I think that was the distinction I was trying to get between this switch, the 4100, and the other switches, because I've added a 2300 and a 3400 before. And I was like, what's the difference between the two? Because I've added those switches to a dashboard. And really what we're getting is additional telemetry, which I think is dependent on some hardware, which is why this one's more cloud native.
Yes. Yeah, so they talked about this switch. They talked about how they are looking at improving indoor location services as well. And then they talked about the new generation of Marvis. So I think they were saying that this is the 6th generation of Marvis, and every year they kind of come up with a new Marvis. Yeah. So it's like the 6th birthday for Marvis, I guess.
The 6th birthday. And for the 6th birthday, his efficacy is really improved. So what they really said was any tickets that get brought up to them, there's not many that can't be answered by Marvis.
Yes. Yeah, they're saying that it's becoming better and better at identifying the problems. Yeah. I think they're up to the 75%, 80% mark.
Crazy.
Where Marvis, whenever it detects an anomaly, it's a right one. And also what they were saying is their customer base is growing like crazy. You said 30% year over year, I think they were saying. But the number of tickets that they have is staying the same. Right, which kind of goes along the lines of Marvis getting
smarter.
Better. Yeah,
and with the announcements of new Marvis is some expansions to what Marvis can do. Right. Yeah. So the biggest one is now there's a Marvis Windows Client, or there's going to be one.
Yes. So they already had some similar clients where you could install like a Marvis client on the Zebra device, Android. And retrieve that information into the cloud, so you could know like the RSSI from the client device. So now they're adding this Windows client device, so you can do the same thing from the Windows.
Right. So now you're gathering perspective from the client, not necessarily from the AP's point of view. So that makes me question: what is there going to be a point to having network sensors on our network? Do we need it?
Yeah. That's a good point. We'll see. Then another improvement is the Marvis logs. I think that's how they called it. So now they're gonna kind of show us how, like the thinking process, I guess, behind Marvis.
Thinking and decision process, the actions it's making. because we all know that some of you don't trust Marvis, right? It's AI.
He's 5 years old. Come on.
It's a robot taking over. Is what I know. There were some memes that got thrown around during the live stream with, this could be like another Avengers type situation. But the logs do show what Marvis actions are being taken place, like why it made that decision. There's a log for it, so we get to understand how Marvis thinks.
Yeah, so I think they were present, for those of you who know Mist, they presented it as kind of an audit log, but for Marvis.
Yeah.
So you would know what Marvis is doing. And another thing that they were improving is the conversation, the little chat you have on the dashboard. So Marvis is becoming a little bit more context aware. So you can actually ask questions, more than one questions, so Marvis can help you to kind of troubleshoot. And not just the Wi-Fi, now they're doing more and more on the wired side as well. So.
Yeah, because Marvis is actually taking in petabytes of data from wireless and wired side. So obviously that's a lot of information.
What's a petabyte?
Too much data that wouldn't fit on this SD card that's recording. But the other thing too is the third-party integrations. Remember they talked about that, which to me opens up a lot more possibilities, right? Because maybe you can use your network sensors to feed more information into the Mist dashboard.
Yes. Yeah, so that was cool. And one thing also with Marvis is now we will be able to troubleshoot wired clients. So we used to be able to do troubleshoot, this laptop. Now you'll be able to do troubleshoot this printer. It's not that printer never works, but you get the gist.
We all know why the printer doesn't work. You don't need AI for that. But, and then there's the whole location-aware AI ops, which is a big improvement. The biggest thing that I remember from that presentation was the whole being able to just mount the access points and using things like 802.11 MC and auto place the access points onto a floor plan.
Yeah.
Right.
That
to
cool.
me is a big shift in how we do things operationally.
Yeah.
Because now I just need the installers to take a picture of it, mount it properly, and then I can calibrate that map, and they showed how the APs move to where they need to be. And while the installers are on site, then you could say, hey, this doesn't look like this one specific AP doesn't look like it's in the right place. Can you move it?
Yeah, so it kind of, like you said, changes our workflow. And I think they were saying that it can even detect the orientation of the AP, which matters if you do location services. You want to make sure like the LED is pointing in one specific direction. So now with that technology, they can pretty much double check these information, or at least correctly configure it. Yeah,
on the floor
software
plan, it's going to rotate, not physically rotate, but
on the floor plan, you're right. It's going to properly orient it.
Orientation of the access point, where how it should be oriented.
So that's coming at one point, and you can see they have a little animation. You can see the AP moving. So
fancy. And then the other good piece of data that we got was from Wes Purvis and his testing of Wi-Fi 6E devices, right? So this was done with a client of theirs, and he was able to gather different metrics along the lines of what does 6 gigahertz coverage look like compared to 5 gigahertz, and how are these devices interacting with the 6 gigahertz? Yeah.
And so for the coverage, I cannot remember exactly the numbers, but they had a bit of difference between 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. So 6 gigahertz was what it's 3 dB, I think, from the lower end of 5
it's about
gigahertz.
3 dB difference, and and then what did you see, or what do you remember from like even downlink and uplink from?
So they have according to the regulations, especially in the US, he was talking about it, you have a difference in maximum transmit power that you can use at the AP level versus the client level. So you have a lot more differences in the data rates they were seeing between the downlink, so traffic coming from the AP, versus the uplink, traffic coming from the client devices. And he was saying that they had between 6 and 12 dB difference in between
huge asymmetry there.
Which is a huge asymmetric. So it's a little bit more apparent on 6 gigahertz because of that difference of transmit power. And because we're using, like for now, we're using what they call the low power indoor modes, at the AP level, we're kind of like using the maximum of what we can use because it's considered low power. So at the same thing at the client level. So we have
the
this
max power level.
we're pretty much using the max power on both ends, which gives us that difference in uplink and downlink.
Wes did share a really good table with the different security types and how the clients don't like to roam between different security types. So between OWE and WPA3 or WPA2 to WPA3. So you really have to think carefully with the migration to 6 gigahertz, and just maybe he's saying just pull the Band-Aid and go to WPA3, which would be my approach as well.
He talks about the different scenarios on how to configure your SSIDs related to security on 6 gigahertz. So he gives some good insights there if you wanna, if you watch the video for 6 gigahertz.
And then he did mention too the default channel width that they're recommending, which was 80 megahertz. And that's because it lines up with the preferred scanning channels. And so that's probably what we're going to see with a lot of vendors.
In the US.
In the US.
In the Americas.
About going 80 megahertz. Maybe some might just choose 160. But
so far 80 megahertz is the default.
It's going to be the default. And then we're going to use things, hopefully, like the reduced neighbor reports and multiple BSSIDs. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up was the whole streaming PCAP, because I know you'd like that.
Oh yeah. So they're adding real-time streaming PCAP to the dashboard. So right now the way it works is you can ask the APs to stream frames for you, but it does it in the background. And when you're ready to stop, you click stop. It uploads the PCAP, and you can analyze it after the fact. With their streaming PCAP, what they're trying to do is they're trying to stream the frames live, kind of like if you're doing it in Wireshark, but you'll be able to see it in the dashboard as you do your troubleshooting, which is nicer and easier to do your troubleshooting against. And the beauty of what I really like about the Mist packet capture is that you don't have to worry about channeling or anything like this. You just put the MAC address of your client,
or which AP you need to capture from.
You don't have to worry about any of this. You just put the SSID of your client. Usually, when you do troubleshooting, you put your client MAC, and then it will kind of figure out where this client is connected, on which channels, on which AP, and only show you the relevant frames.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need to be, right next to the device and predict which channels you need to scan with your devices. Your like sidekicks, have 2 sidekicks and scan on multiple channels. But this simplifies the whole troubleshooting process.
You can do it remotely.
And you can do it remotely. You don't need to send someone there. The last thing that they did talk about was kind of like moving forward with security. So they talked about their acquisition of White Sand and where the vision of where they are going with NAC, and they're really trying to disrupt the whole NAC and security field, because this is going to be a cloud-based NAC.
Which I'm super excited about, because for a long time I was waiting to get more information into Mist, into Marvis, into the SLEs about the authentication piece, because for now we do get some information, but if we want to get to the bottom of things, we have to go to the logs, of the NAC solution to know, okay, why didn't the user authenticate? Was it a bad password, a bad certificate? And all of these details, we don't get access to them right now. So I'm super excited to see that they're trying to create a solution, a cloud-based solution that would nicely integrate with their existing solution, and that would tackle the NAC problem or the network access problem from a more, using the newest technologies we have available in the cloud.
Like they'll be able to use microservices with NAC, be able to have an API that's tied to that as well,
probably,
and then go for scale. Now you're to lower the latency of that authentication, you'd be able to hit specific POPs, right? So if you're on the West Coast, you're not trying to hit some sort of server, a NAC server that's on the East Coast. So they're trying to solve those types of architectural issues.
And they kind of trying to disrupt the space, like you said, kind of like how they disrupt the wireless LAN access space. They're trying to do the same thing for the NAC space.
Yep.
So it's still the beginning. You know, they're just kind of creating the momentum, I think, in the industry. But I'm really excited to see what they're gonna come up with.
All right. Well, head over to Tech Field Days YouTube channel. Check out that video. I'm gonna have to break it up into chunks because it's a long session, but lots of good stuff there. Let us know in the comments what you guys think, and thank you guys for watching or listening.
Thank you.